Alright, so the Unreal Engine aspect. So we've already covered how to export files. I paused the last video, exported a few more bits, just so I got enough to toy with in Unreal. And at this point, I've launched the Epic Launcher, and I chose Sign In Later. I'm not showing it on video because I think Epic are having a few issues today, and maybe in DDoS or something. It took too long to log in, so here we are. Right, so we launch the engine. Just please make a note of whatever version you're using in college. So I'm using 4.22.1 here. When you go home, download the same version. You cannot take a project from a newer version into an older one, or vice versa. You can take an older one to a new one, but not newer to older. So when you start a project, whatever engine you start in, that is the version you're going to finish in. Okay, so we're going to create a new project. We've got a load of different templates here, which principally kind of influence how the player moves around or how the camera can move around the scene. So we can choose a side scroller. We're going to make sure starter content is turned off. On the college machine, you're going to need to make sure you save to this PC. Maybe go to downloads, right click, create a new folder, and call this UE4 underscore. When you're making stuff for Unreal, your naming conventions are really important. No spaces, no special characters like exclamation marks, dollar signs, hyphens, anything like that. It can introduce glitches in your game. So UE4 underscore J Alexander. Because you're working on the C drive on the college machine or the local drive, you're not going to be able to access this file anywhere else in the college or at home. You'll need to log back onto this machine next week or after a lesson one day and maybe upload your project to your Google Drive or onto a USB. Okay, so we're going to save it into UE4J Alexander and we'll just name it J's Side Scroller. So notice how I'm using camel humping in order to separate words. So capitalization, new words, rather than spaces. All right, create project. And this should only take a sec. Okay, so we've got our level. The interface is, it can look a little bit daunting, but down the bottom, very bottom, we've got our content browser. On the right, details tab. So if we select an object, all of its attributes will pop up here, such as its materials, which mesh is being used. So we could quickly transfer that for a ramp. If we just change it back to, there we go. The very top, an outliner. So if our scene became really busy and we couldn't find an object, we could search for, I don't know, floor. And we could limit the objects being shown by name. On the left, just over here, is our toolbox or modes. At the moment, we should only be staying in the place mode, which gives us access to dragging out a load of different really useful tools. Right, so for today's lesson, just before I go into that, if we press play, you'll notice that if you click on the viewport, move around, we've only got A and D functionality and spacebar. Right, beautiful. So we know it functions as a side scroller. We just need to make sure that as we're building our levels, we're using the play feature to make sure everything is accessible and there's enough reward or challenge for the game to not become really frustrating. Right, to access that, we just press escape and we're back in developer mode. Right, so good practice. In the content browser at the very bottom, I'm going to right click, create a new folder and name this J's underscore folder, just so I know that if I bring anything into the scene, it's all going to be saved in here. All right, so we made a J's folder. We can make a new folder within this called static meshes. Okay, so static mesh is any 3D asset that goes into our scene which doesn't have a skeleton attached. We're not expecting these assets to have animations imported with them. So going into that folder, we're going to right click, import to game, or we could have clicked on import just here. All right, so import. We're going to find our folder, which is assets exported, and we'll bring in, I don't know, what should we bring in first? Bed 1, as is what I started in. Right, so the settings that load up, it's not a skeletal mesh, so that would be the other type of meshes where we are expecting it to animate or deform. So the player would be an example of a skeletal mesh. We're going to turn off auto-generate collisions, just so that we're able to get inside of our assets, and we can generate collisions later on. Okay, just quickly scrolling down. Nope, we've already combined our meshes in Maya. Nope, materials. Create new materials. Yep, import textures. Nah. You can leave this on if you've done this, but we've not covered it on the course yet. So I'll leave that as is, and we'll just press import. Okay, so straight away we can see when the assets come in, hovering over it, just above bed 1, or just next to bed 1 in the details tab that's popped up, we can see it's labeled as a static mesh, which is what we've named our folder. And more importantly, next to it, we can see all 4 materials that were assigned to the bed. So if I drag this out into the scene, ka-chow, as Lightning McQueen would say. Ka-chow. The bed is more or less the right size for him. Let's quick. So I'm pressing spacebar to rotate between the different transform modes. And if I just position this next to him, so the bed wasn't made for him, it was made for like a cute little kind of chibi character. We'll just pretend he'd hang his feet over the end of the bed like a real lad. Right. So that is the correct size. So from there, what we will do is, let's say, I don't know, he's got friends staying over. We want to have some duplicates of this mesh. If we hold down Alt on the keyboard, Alt next to spacebar, and just use the arrow key, not the arrow key, the arrow on the move tool, and I hold Alt again, use green arrow, I can drag out loads of duplicates. Copy and paste doesn't work here. You have to hold down Alt, and then use a manipulator to move another one out. Right, so I'm going to just quickly duplicate. I'm going to delete some of these meshes quickly, because we're not building an orphanage for Unreal Tournament dead characters. Right, so next along, so it's already made some materials for us here. When I select the object, in its details tab, we can see it's got 4 beautiful materials. So if we load up one of them, so I'm just referring to my notes to make sure I stay in a semi-structured format. Where did I say I'd got up to on Moodle? Quickly, let's check. Okay, so I'm up to here. Right, so I'm going to pause this video here and do the next one for materials.